Hi everybody, welcome back to the AmBIssadors. I'm Vaneet.
And I'm Lo.
And we're going to discuss our favourite topic, bi discourse. So if you don't know what bi discourse is, I feel a lot of people kind of caught on to some of this recently when there was an episode of Big Mouth that went around, and that was when I think a lot of gay people kind of caught on to what bi discourse is and entered the bi world.
Bi course.
Bi course. But bi discourse is a lot of conversations that come up around bisexuality, especially online, especially on Twitter, around basically.
And very much on Tumblr.
Oh yeah, I don't go on that website anymore. Maybe that's why.
I'll talk about this afterwards, but I actually deleted my Tumblr partly because of bi discourse.
But the bi discourse is conversations that happen around bisexuality, normally for people who aren't bisexual, and discuss bisexuality and the issues that they cause to other people. So, for example, one of the main discourses that come up is the idea of straight at pride.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So I think first of all, the word discourse is used, it's been like completely bastardized.
Yeah.
Like it was first used in this sense by Michael Foucault or Foucault, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely not saying this right. Michael Foucault, who was like a gay writer and sexologist and activist in, I think, the 60s, don't yell at me if that is wrong. And so he talked about like the discourse around sexuality, and how everything is a prison. Everything is a prison to Foucault. And so whenever people talk about discourse, they mean like intra-community conversations about different identities under the queer umbrella. But often you find that they become very secular and that they're only ever kind of aimed at like non-binary identities, so like non-binary genders, non-binary sexualities like bi and pan, but also ace discourse.
Yeah.
Ace discourse is out of control.
I mean,
really horrible.
Even I've had to speak up for asexual people before, and demisexual people as well, because I saw this very like trending tweet. I think it had, at the point I called it, had about 70k likes around demisexuality and demisexuality not being valid, and I had to like talk it down. And it's unhinged. It's unhinged.
Yeah. Most discourse comes down to, is this identity valid or not?
Yeah.
And like that, you don't get to decide if someone else's identity is valid. Let's just put that out there at like the preface of this video. Only people who identify that way get to choose that, and it obviously is valid because they're identifying that way. So whatever, fuck that. So one of the worst discourses is Straight Set Pride, which comes around every Pride season, especially in June, because June is Pride Month in America, right? And so it's kind of just become Pride Month everywhere because of the internet. And there's always viral tweets or Tumblr posts or whatever about seeing straight couples at Pride and how straight couples shouldn't be at Pride. And this just makes me so angry because often you can't assume that it's a straight couple that you're looking at. It could be two bi people, it could be two trans people, it could be two non-binary people, it could be any mixture of those things, two ace people, one ace person, whatever. But every year it comes around how bi people should only be at Pride if we have same gender partners. I actually wrote an article about this back in 2017 when Pride in London conveniently forgot to invite any bi groups to be in their parade. So it's not just attendees who forget that bi people belong at Pride, forget that a bi person started Pride.
Yeah.
It's actual prides themselves. But this did lead to, in 2018, the first bi pride float, which I was lucky enough to be a part of that project. And then from there, we've now had the Pandas are having floats in London Pride, the London Bi Pandas, which is an awesome activist group that Vaneet and I are both part of.
Yeah. If you haven't seen their float from 2019, please go check it out.
very good.
It's amazing.
And as one of the, I don't even know how to describe this. I wrote the Be With The Tea open statement a couple of years ago, and I have done some organising around Be With The Tea. And so in 2019, actually, last year, I was invited to have a Be With The Tea group walk at the front of London Pride, which was so cool. So even though not having any bi pride groups was awful, and the way that Pride in London reacted to bi activists calling them out was also really awful. It did lead to some change, and I think things are improving. But then we have Pride discourse every year.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that whilst we have that Pride discourse, this thought process exists in everyday life. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The hill that I will die on, mainly because someone will stab me just to make me shut up, is the fact that I will call out any person who talks about straights being within an LGBT plus space. Now, I'm not stupid, right? We know straight people like to invade our spaces. We know that definitely exists.
They like to use Pride as a festival to go to.
100%. But the making that assumption is such a leap, and it's so frustrating because it kind of concretes down the idea that all of these spaces aren't actually LGBT, they're not safe spaces, and they're not for everyone.
It just nails down the idea that they're just L and G spaces.
Yeah.
Cis L and G spaces.
And the thing that I have to keep reminding people is that after the L and the G come the B and the T, and there is a whole wide world under that little plus that we have there.
Yeah.
And like you said, that there are ace people and non-binary people and bisexual people, but also it's like we have trans people who are straight, and we forget that happens as well. Like we have Jake and Hannah, I think are their name, who was some of the biggest trans people. I don't know if they identify as straight.
The biggest trans people.
But they're very well known trans people within the community, I should say. Bad wording. But they are very well known, and they are in a different sex relationship. I don't know if they identify as straight, but if you saw them walking around, and you might go, well, look, it's a straight couple. It's like, well, actually, they're both trans. And you're forgetting the fact that it's not just about sexual identity, but it's also about gender identity. So when you're saying stuff like that, you're just assuming gender at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're harming so many people in that assumption. And it's so bad and it's so entrenched that I even had to call out bisexual people who forget that bisexual people exist when they see a straight couple. Because we just forget.
It's also so bad that every year come Pride season, I just feel anxious. And this is something that we've been talking about for all of March was, by Mental Health Month. I just feel anxious during that time that I'm gonna have to deal with these fucking viral tweets and viral posts about how I don't really belong at Pride, or I'm gonna go to Pride and, see no bi flags. And things are getting better. Like when I was a teenager and I was going to Pride, there was no bi flags. There was no, nothing there for bi people. And it's still like that in some of the smaller prides. But it just kind of overshadows Pride season now sometimes, that we have to have these discourses every year about it. And
I've said this before as well, but I get very anxious within LGBT plus spaces because when I see a woman there who I'm attracted to, I don't feel comfortable enough to do anything about it because I don't know whether it's a straight woman who's entered the space to be safe around the gays. I don't know if it's a lesbian person who will be disgusted that a man is hitting on them. I don't know whether it is another bi person. And I'm so uncomfortable that I don't even feel like I can just say it and be like, oh, I'm bisexual and I think you're attractive, because I don't know what the reaction will be. I don't know whether they'll be like, why are you here? Or oh, I came here to be safe. It's just so... I get so uncomfortable and I just do nothing. So when we talk about my sexual experiences being so skewed towards men, it's because I know that the men are most likely available, but I don't know about the women, and I'm so scared to approach it.
And I think it shouldn't come down to us policing our own community about who can and can't be at Pride. It should be, the onus needs to be placed on straight people to respect our spaces, to respect that, like, yes, you can come to Pride. We want you to come to Pride and party with us and protest with us. We want you to show up for us. But you have to respect that these spaces are for us. And so the fact that straight people don't respect our spaces, the onus to deal with that shouldn't be put on policing like how bi, trans, ace people express themselves in queer spaces. We need to be putting that onus back on straight people to own their shit and to do better.
Yeah. Related to this, there's another lovely discourse, which is straight passing privilege.
Oof.
It is my most hated discourse because, especially when you talk about the mental health behind bi people, what privilege?
Yeah.
What privilege to be at the top of the charts for anxiety, depression, and suicide.
Also, for the top of the charts, top of the pops, for sexual violence, for eating disorders, for addiction, for poverty, for dropping out of education, and for more likely to be homeless. All of which you and I have written multiple things about all of those topics, and you can find those discussions in the links to our mediums. But in theory, you can talk about passing privilege. But when you get into the reality of bi people's lives, we do not experience a privilege that comes with, because even when we're in different gender relationships, we're still more likely to experience all of those things and, you know, employment discrimination, everything. The only time that it really counts is if we're in the street. If we're with someone of a different gender, like holding hands, slightly shielded from street harassment. But then you were saying that for you as a effeminate brown man, that's actually not the case.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I've not been in that relationship, so I don't know for certain, but I feel like a lot of this straight passing privilege, it's in that very certain circumstance. It's like you have to be in a different sex relationship, holding hands, and very visibly show some sort of sign of affection to indicate that you are in a relationship. Because I feel like if I was walking down with someone, my queer identity is so visible in the way I dress, in the way I look, in the way I act, that I feel like I would just get passed up as the gay best friend, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like it wouldn't matter. I would probably just go, oh yeah, that's just her friend. That's just her friend. And they're just very close. And I think that that's something that we need to unpack, is that it's not, straight passing privilege doesn't actually come with your sexual identity, but it comes with the way you perform gender. Because I feel like even for you, if you were holding hands with someone, your hair colour, for example,
my side shape,
would show a sign of queerness. And I feel like it's not about the fact that you identify a certain way, but it's the way that you conform to your gender.
And I think patriarchy really comes into this, because when I was a teenager, I dated a man for about 5 years. I still had this hacked off haircut, and so the experiences I had in that was that when I was in college, I got called a dyke quite a lot. To one extent, someone actually threw a lit cigarette in my face and called me a dyke, because I was standing alone at a bus stop in like the twilight of the day, looking like my dyke self. And that person did not stop and ask me, hey, you bisexual? Hey, you have a boyfriend? They just flicked their cigarette in my face and called me a dyke. But when I was out with my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, my boyfriend at the time, I was protected from street harassment, because even though I do look like this, I was seen as kind of his property.
Yeah.
I was seen as like being protected by him. And so a man is not going to challenge another man about their bisexual girlfriend who's wearing a t-shirt that says I am bisexual. If I wore that I am bisexual t-shirt and I was walking down the street by myself, I'm probably gonna experience catcalling or fetishization. Whereas I think if you were wearing a t-shirt that said I am bisexual and you were walking with another woman, being, especially like a man of color, I think you would still be very, very vulnerable.
Yeah.
To harassment or to attack, even if you were with another woman. And it comes down to the patriarchal thing of, I think you wouldn't be seen as worthy of that woman. because you're queer, because you're, you know.
Yeah, and I think that has been a prevailing thought as I'm growing up, is that even when I'm with a friend, they think, oh, you're together, and they think, why is she with you? I've actually had that comment where I was with a friend and they're like, why is she with you? Because they think that I'm gay. And so I think that the idea that we have straight passing privilege, it doesn't actually come with the relationship. It comes with the way you look. Because if we're saying that it's due to the relationship, don't gay men have straight passing privilege when they're by themselves? If they don't look very feminine?
Yeah. The other thing is that I've passed in the street when I'm out with my girlfriend. So I can be quite femme. I wear skirts and heels sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And my girlfriend is very androgynous to butch. And when I'm wearing heels and skirts and she's wearing like a huge oversized jacket and a beanie and has a little androgynous baby face, people have called her by male pronouns and assumed that she was a boy and that we were a different gender couple. So did we have passing privilege in that moment? No, of course we didn't. We're two women.
Yeah.
But we still were coercively passed. So again, that it starts breaking down when you get into it, because yes, I've had privilege where I haven't been harassed in the street. Also, I live in London, so even though hate crimes are going up, I'm still a lot safer here as a white, cis-looking queer person than in another situation, even in my hometown. So we have to bring like a location into it as well.
Yeah.
When you get into straight passing privilege, it doesn't make sense, because sometimes even when my girlfriend and I are holding hands and we are both assumed to be women, we were buying pizza and wine and like chocolates once for like a Valentine's Day night, and the shopkeeper was like, oh, that's so nice, two good friends having a Valentine's Day together. And we were like, yep, then we're gonna get into bed together like we do every night. And so we were like passed as straight friends, even when we were like buying date paraphernalia.
So you can see it's straight passing, which doesn't make sense. During that conversation, you also said the word dyke. Dyke, butch, femme, faggot.
I think I called myself femme as well, didn't I?
Yeah. A lot of these terms are apparently owned by gay and lesbian people.
Yes.
Which is another lovely little discourse that we have. Is you can't say that word because that's a word that gets aimed at us. But I mean, I've had tons of homophobic abuse.
I've had so much homophobic abuse.
And I've been called faggot. But
Actually,
I can't say faggot?
I've been called a faggot.
Yeah.
I was once out with my girlfriend and my housemate and her boyfriend, and some kids threw eggs at us and called us fags. And we were like, that's the wrong fucking slur.
But the butch femme one is an interesting one that has been discussed a lot by people online, especially Gabrielle Alexa.
Hi Gabby, we love you. Gabby is an amazing bi activist in America who runs the Bi Femmes Club,
Yes.
which does amazing merch that says Bi Femme Club on it. I actually really want to get one, but I haven't yet. Sorry, Gabby. And she gets so much hate on her Twitter, on her shop, on everything, telling her that she's stealing lesbian words by putting femme next to bi on a t-shirt. When, if we look at the history of bi and femme, lesbian communities up until like the 50s and 60s meant any woman who has sex or relationships with a woman. It didn't just mean women who were exclusively attracted to women. And so the time when bi and femme and stud for black women emerged as terms was a time when like ace women who love women, bi women who love women, pan women who love women. Now binary people who love women were all part of like one big group. And then to say that because of lesbian separatism that emerged in kind of the 60s and 70s, that we're now not pure enough to say those words because, as the argument goes, bi and femme are about gender identities away from the male gaze, is A, ahistorical, and B, makes it seem like I, as a bi woman or an ace woman, loves woman, whoever, that whole identity is based around male attraction and male attention. Just because I sometimes wanna sleep with skater boys does not mean that like my entire identity is based around attracting skater boys. Especially because I'm in a long-term monogamous relationship with a woman. And so I kind of see it as a bit patronizing.
Yeah.
The idea that my whole identity, I call myself Futch, kind of jokingly, but like the idea that I can't be Futch because I'm performing my whole gender identity for male attention just because I'm sometimes attracted to men. So I think we've decided we're going to split this into two because we talked about it for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
So this is future Lo and Vaneet talking to you right now. So that's going to be it for this half of the Bi Discourse series.
And we will see you in the next part.
So tell us below about the Bi Discourse that gets to you the most and your experiences with Bi Discourse. And we will see you in the next installment.
Bye.
Bye.